Imagine the sound of cicadas on a summer night in Houston. The air is heavy, the streets are quiet. It's June 24th, 1993. Two teenage girls, Jennifer Ertman, just 14 years old, and Elizabeth Pena, 16, are on their way home after spending time with friends. They laugh, they talk, and they walk faster because they're already late for curfew. But instead of taking the long, familiar road home, they choose a shortcut, a dark path through the park. They never make it out. What happens next is one of the most horrific crimes in Houston's history, an act of pure cruelty that shocked America, changed the way courts handled victims' rights, and left scars that remain to this day. This is the haunting story of Jennifer Ertman and Elizabeth Pena. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Thriller X, hit the like button, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. These stories are painful, but remembering them honors the victims and reminds us why justice matters. The summer night in Houston was quiet. Streetlights glowed dimly, casting yellow pools of light on the empty sidewalks. Jennifer and Elizabeth hurried along, their footsteps quick, their voices low. They knew they were late, and both were anxious about walking into their homes after curfew. They reached the edge of T.C. Jester Park, open grass, scattered trees, and pockets of shadow where the darkness seemed thicker than anywhere else. For most, it was not a place to walk at night, but for the girls, it was just a shortcut. They couldn't know that 6 young men were inside that park, restless, drinking, and waiting. Members of a street gang called the Black and White. They had already been causing trouble that night, and they wanted more. Among them were Peter Cantu, the 18-year-old leader, Jose Medellin, his closest friend, Derek O'Brien, tall and menacing, Efrain Perez and Raul Villarreal, both 17, and Jose's younger brother, Venancio, only 14. Fate was about to cross 2 innocent girls with 6 predators. The shadows closed in. Jennifer and Elizabeth followed the railroad tracks that cut through the park. The air was heavy, the smell of grass thick in their lungs. Then they saw the group ahead. At first, maybe they thought it was just some teenagers hanging out. But quickly, the truth became clear. The gang spread out, blocking the path. Jennifer and Elizabeth slowed, their nerves sparking with fear. They were outnumbered, trapped. "Where are you headed?" one of the men mocked. The girls tried to keep walking, eyes lowered. But within seconds, hands grabbed them. Voices turned sharp, aggressive. They were pulled from the tracks and into the darkness of the trees. Jennifer and Elizabeth screamed, but the night swallowed their voices. The park, wide and empty, offered no escape. The shadows closed in, and with them, the nightmare began. No escape. Under the cover of trees, the gang's cruelty took over. The girls were forced to endure an ordeal no human being should ever face. To the gang, it was entertainment, a show of dominance, proof of loyalty. They laughed, they mocked, they treated the girls as if their lives had no value. Jennifer and Elizabeth clung to each other whenever they could, whispering desperate prayers, begging for mercy. But mercy never came. When it was over, the gang faced a choice. Jennifer and Elizabeth had seen their faces. They could go to the police. They could end the Black and White gang for good. The decision came swiftly. They could not leave the park alive. Shoelaces were pulled from sneakers, loops tightened around necks. The struggle was violent, desperate, but hopeless. First Elizabeth, then Jennifer. When it was done, silence returned to the park. The gang dragged the bodies into the underbrush, covering them with weeds. Then, as if nothing had happened, they walked away laughing. There was no escape. The longest 4 days. At home, the hours dragged into terror. Ruben Pena, Elizabeth's father, drove the streets through the night, scanning sidewalks, peering into alleys, desperate to see his daughter. Sandra and Randy Ertman called every friend they could think of, their hearts sinking with each no. By morning, both families called the police, but at first it was treated like another missing persons report. Maybe the girls had run off, maybe they were hiding out, but their parents knew better. Jennifer and Elizabeth were not the kind to vanish. Something had happened. Flyers were printed. Neighbors joined the search. Cars crawled down streets, headlights sweeping across fields and ditches. Voices called out into the night. And yet, only a few hundred yards away, Jennifer and Elizabeth already lay hidden in the park. lifeless. One day passed, then two, then three. Every phone call made the families jump. Every knock at the door sent a surge of hope. But each time, the answer was silence. For 4 long days, the families waited in agony. The park's terrible secret. On June 28, 1993, 4 days after Jennifer and Elizabeth disappeared, a teenage boy walked through T.C. Jester Park. At first, it was just a stroll, but then he noticed something strange in the brush, a shape that didn't belong. The smell hit him, sharp, decayed, and then through weeds and branches, he saw them, 2 bodies side by side. He ran to his father, panicked. Police were called. Soon the park was lit with flashing lights, officers swarming the scene. The discovery was every parent's nightmare. Jennifer and Elizabeth had been brutalized, strangled, and abandoned under the summer sun. Shoelaces still hung at their necks. When officers delivered the news, Ruben Pena collapsed in anguish. Sandra and Randy Ertman wept uncontrollably, clinging to each other. Their daughters weren't missing anymore. They were gone. The city of Houston reeled. Parents pulled their children closer. Teenagers were warned never to walk alone. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. Who could do this? The bragging that broke them. Detectives worked fast. The scene told part of the story, but they needed names. And then, word spread. A group of young men had been bragging, laughing as they described what happened, sharing details only the killers could know. It didn't take long for detectives to assemble the list. Peter Cantu, Jose Medellin, Derek O'Brien, Efrain Perez, Raul Villarreal, Venancio Medellin. Each was arrested, each was interrogated. At first they denied, then they cracked. The story spilled out. Some tried to shift blame. Some downplayed their role. But the facts aligned. Who was there? What was done? How it ended? One officer would later recall how casually some of them spoke. No remorse, no shame, just words as if it were nothing more than another night out. The bragging had broken them. Now the courtroom would decide their fate, facing the monsters. The trials drew crowds. Reporters, families, community members, all wanted to see justice. For the parents of Jennifer and Elizabeth, it was torture. They sat through testimony that ripped their wounds open again and again. They listened to prosecutors describe every cruel act, heard details they wished they could forget, saw photographs that shattered them. Across the room sat the killers, some defiant, some empty-eyed. Prosecutors demanded the ultimate punishment. This was not a crime of impulse. It was cold, deliberate, merciless. Defense attorneys argued for mercy. They pointed to youth, to troubled upbringings, to the hope of rehabilitation. But their words carried little weight. The verdicts came down hard. Peter Cantu, death. Jose Medellin, death. Derek O'Brien, death. Efrain Perez, death. Later reduced to life because of his age. Raul Villarreal, death. Later reduced for the same reason. Venancio Medellin, too young for capital punishment, received decades in prison. The courtroom delivered justice. But for the families, it was only the beginning of a long, painful wait. What do you think of this case? Do you believe justice was fully served? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you want more haunting, true crime stories told in this style, make sure to subscribe to Thriller X, hit the like button, and share this video. Remember, these stories aren't just about the crimes. They're about the voices we must never forget. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.